You do.
Yes, I have one thing. Now that the summer's over, our plastic bag ordinance is going to be going into effect next May, and we're already working on communicating with our businesses, making them aware, giving them alternatives. And I was wondering what the council would feel if they think it might be time to start looking at maybe we could do something about plastic straws. You know, and if there's I have an article from the paper about well, California statewide is considering, but there are several towns in California. What they do is they make it, they don't ban them, they make it so that you can't give them out without a customer's request. Mm-hmm. And their ordinances really only work in sit-in restaurants, but we could make it for bars or it would whatever we want to do. I tell you the truth, that for me personally, that's one of the biggest problems. I have to remember to tell them, don't give me a straw when I ask for a glass of water. I really would rather not have to worry about that. I think it should be more, because as soon as they give me one, I just got to put it on the bar. It's just going to go in the garbage. It's just going to go out into the waste stream. And I'm just thinking, since other towns are doing it, we're not the first ones out of the gate on this. I think it might be something maybe we want to consider, maybe have it go into effect in conjunction with our bag ordinance next spring.
What?
I never really thought about it, but I know Sweet Teas is using paper straws already, because she had thought that was worth mentioning, that no one goes to this point. Be something to ask all the business owners, see if
People are giving out straws, right?
if they go to paper, or if they have an alternative, so.
What?
I actually use stainless steel straws in my household.
What?
Stainless steel straws. It's like silverware. I don't throw away my forks and knives, and I don't throw away my straws either. It's an interesting idea. I believe there's a state ban that's being proposed. Someone actually presented it to us a few months ago.
Yeah.
However, if that goes into effect, we won't have any chance to enact our own ordinance or ban on it once the state one goes into effect. I think it's definitely worth investigating, but I want to get some feedback from the business owners first.
Well, that would be my next step. I want to see what you guys thought.
I like the idea of paper. I don't know why they don't go to paper. Is it more expensive to make a paper straw? Less expensive? That would be, for me, the way to go, but I would like to, I would be in agreement to amend our ordinance to include straws. What about the styrofoam? I know back in the mid-'80s, Mayor Hernandez wanted to ban styrofoam, and she was way ahead of her time, and she met with so much opposition that it never went through. But I was speaking with someone from Monmouth Beach yesterday, and Monmouth Beach has a ban on styrofoam, which doesn't break down either, and straws, and when you use plastic bags. So, since you're on the environmental, maybe you want to think about that. I'd be willing to include the other two in the ordinance.
All right.
Since we have time. And with the state backing us up, and more towns doing it, we're not going it alone, which I think will be more successful.
I know Madison wants to have a styrofoam ban for several years, actually. We don't hear about it here, but it's definitely in that.
Well, they're very similar to us. How's it going for them?
Well, I guess no one's using it because I haven't heard anything in the paper about everybody getting the fine. So,
So we can revisit it, and I'd say it includes straws, and if you think it's worthwhile, styrofoam, because the paper breaks down. Plastic and this styrofoam doesn't.
Okay.
I think it's important too that we take it as a gradual step, not just throwing, hey, all these objects are now banned.
No.
I mean, I think this is sort of a good approach.
I like, it's a simple thing, and more than anything, it's really about raising consciousness, because if you look at it, Colleen and I were looking at the statistics this afternoon. I mean, if you look at the overall makeup of what's polluting the ocean, like that giant plastic garbage island that's floating around, most of that is actually from fishing line, fishing equipment, stuff like that, all that for people who work on the ocean, a lot of it's that straws are really less than 1%. But it's something that people can be involved in, and it's just a way to raise awareness about how much plastic that doesn't break down is going into our environment. And there's no two ways about it. It always ends up in the food. Sooner or later, if it goes in the ocean, it ends up in the food you're gonna eat. And every time I think about that, I just get completely skeeved out. And I think it's just a way for people to be aware and feel like they're participating and helping their own environment.
Did you see Asbury Park is going to ban intentional balloon releases?
I think we have those.
Do
We have a balloon, yes.
Okay. Have we had any? Tom, have we ever written a summons for a balloon release? You know, I mean, it's good to be on there,
I don't think we have, no.
but it's on our.
We have.
Great. Okay, seeing nothing else on the workshop, let's go to petitions. Anybody in the audience with a petition, you want to step forward? Come on up, give your name, your address, and hand that petition over to our clerk.
Claire Hannon, 221 18th Avenue. I think you might know why I'm here. For the past year, I've been asking for the direction of Snyder Avenue to be switched from southbound to northbound. So we had agreed that once the summer was over, you would go back and check with the chief, and I would walk around to all the neighbors. So I walked around to all the neighbors.
A woman of your word.
Yes.
Very good.
97 residents.
Okay.
They were visited. 46 yeses, 4 no's, 3 doesn't matter, and 44 not home or chose not to sign. Okay?
Okay.
So that was a summary of all that. To switch Snyder to go northbound rather than southbound, so we would at least have 2 streets going north and 2 going south between 17th and North Boulevard.
The way it is now, 3 are going south and just 1 going north?
That's correct. And the area that I walked around was all of Snyder Avenue, and between A and B, 17th, 18th, 19th, and then down B Street, and caught all the Belmar residents. I went off the tax records and picked everyone in that area. So, okay. Can I ask what the process is from here?
Ooh, you're ahead of me. I was just about to turn to our attorney and ask him, Greg, what's the process now? We're Colleen, would you know?
We'd have to talk to the chief, first and foremost.
Sure.
And obviously, we'd have to change the ordinance again.
So we'll review it, we'll talk to the Borough Council, we'll get you guys a recommendation on something that you can consider at the next meeting.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Let's get to it.
All right, listen. Surf goes south,
Correct?
then A Street goes north
Correct?
throughout the whole town.
Correct.
Then you want Snyder to go south, not
North.
North.
North towards Avon.
It currently goes south, so
okay, because A Street goes north.
Correct?
You want Snyder to go north and B Street to go south,
South throughout
which is
town.
throughout town. So basically, A Street and Snyder would both be going in the same direction, but at least out of the 4, it would be 2 and 2.
Similar to Snyder and B going in the same direction right now.
All right, you don't mind me asking you this, you had like only 3 no's. Is that on your petition, 4 no's? Why did they say no? Do you think?
Because they felt that it was going to bring more traffic into their area. It was the bottom end of Snyder towards the lake. They said that people are going to come up North Boulevard and say, oh, I can turn here first. And they're going to turn there rather than going 1 more block up to A. That was the only reason.
Okay. They're concerned. Okay, I understand. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other petitions out in the audience? All right, Tom, want to read the approval of minutes?
I wasn't here, so I'm going to have to abstain.
Okay. Mark?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on August 21st, 2018 be approved as recorded, and a copy thereof should be posted on the Borough website.
Second?
Councilman Brennan?
Abstain.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to reports of council. Councilman Levis.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to report that 2 weekends ago, we had the Belmar Soul Race to support the Department of Recreation. I just want to thank Barry Trogu, our rec director, our DPW for the setup and the cleanup, and our police force for traffic control. I also want to thank PJs for donating prizes for the race. Really good race with a good turnout. I think we raised about $3,800 for the Department of Rec. So it'll go a long way for them. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Olsberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to first bring up our lifeguard situation. I mean, we really have to work on getting lifeguards that are going to be here through Labor Day. I mean, we had a lifeguard situation where there was a lot of stands down, and I know Matt Doherty, our former mayor, it was a big concern for him. And I know it's going to be an ongoing process, and we have to get people, but we really do have to get people that are going to stay here through Labor Day. We have a great weekend, and it's not only dangerous for people in the water, but it's also dangerous for our lifeguard staff. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's one thing that we're going to really have to work on for next summer. And the other thing is the Belmar Business Partners had 2 great car shows, and they did a great job with the sidewalk sales. So they had 3 nice events for this summer, and they did a great job in that. I just want to bring that up. That's all I got.
Before I go to you, Tom, I would love to have lifeguards, full crew, right to Labor Day. But I started working back in 1971, and we never had a full crew till Labor Day. What happens, and it's, I don't think you can do anything about it because all the other towns suffer the same fate. Your older lifeguards, let's say your veterans in the maybe 30 and up, they might be school teachers and they go back to school earlier, or they might be football coaches, soccer coaches, and they go coach their teams. The colleges now, if the bulk of your lifeguards might be college age, and colleges start before Labor Day. So they can't choose to work in Belmar during the week when their classes have already started at school. So you lose those guys. This year we went down to 17-year-olds, which was good. I think it worked out okay. The only thing is with some 17-year-olds, if they're make the lifeguards, lifeguards are generally a little bit more athletic, and they're probably guys that made their soccer team or high school football teams. And those practices start before Labor Day. So that's the problem of keeping guys until Labor Day. You're going against schools, you're going against colleges, and you're going against athletic teams. So I don't know what the answer is. And you can't just go hire anybody because you don't want to put someone up on the lifeguard stand that can't make the rescue. Right now we have what they call a skeleton crew. And what they did today is they were riding up and down the beaches in a quad. They did make three saves today, as of early this afternoon. Was that correct, Bob?
That was the number I had around.
Okay. So there is some protection, and there's the age-old term of don't go swimming if there's not a lifeguard. I mean, you can go down the beach and you can get your feet wet, but there's people in the water, and if they can swim, it's good for them. But if you can't swim, stay out of the water. One thing that helps us is the surfers, especially in the later hours. The surfers make a lot of rescues throughout the year that we never know about, from people that go in the water and they need to be rescued. The lifeguard stands towards the end being down. I don't disagree with that. I remember what we used to do, especially if we had rough water, we'd knock down a stand and then we'd bring the lifeguards to a stand where we wanted the people to go swimming. So that if there is going to be a rescue, you can say, okay, we have a problem. You're gonna take the torque, you're gonna take the torque, you swim the line, you swim the line, you pull, you stay on the stand. So by bringing your lifeguards to one area, instead of spreading your lifeguards out, makes for a better rescue. You can organize it before it happens. So I think that's a smart strategy by the lifeguards. And we did it since I was a lifeguard back in the 70s. Howard Rowland was okay with it. Knock that stand down, bring him to the middle, and coordinate it. It makes sense. It's safer. It's safer to have 5 or 6 guys on one stand instead of having 2, 2, 2, 2, and then having these guys over here have to run all the way down there and bring the wrong equipment, you know. So you have everything right there with the stand. I mean, that's, I'm sure all the other towns, if you'd ask them, what's your problem at the end of the year? Staffing. So it's not just Belmar.
If I could offer, because I think it speaks to both of your points. Much earlier in the season, the chief of police started soliciting feedback from rank and file guards, particularly our captains and our lieutenants, and we've gotten a lot of good input and suggestions for recruitment for next year. So,
Well, that's my point.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's something that we really have to work on.
we're going to start right
I
away.
mean, so, you know, you don't want to go after 17-year-olds if we know that they're going to be going for Labor Day, but you know, we start recruitment now, maybe get some older people to work right through Labor Day, because it's a little dangerous even for our staff to be that understaffed on the beach. We had a busy weekend, and that's all I'm saying, is that's something that we're really going to have to work on.
You'll be seeing a big recruitment push
Well,
next year.
What we told Eric Correctman to do is to start writing letters to the high school swim coaches and go to some of these swim meets, and especially short conference swim meets, and recruit. And the same thing with Monmouth University. I think they still have a swim team. But start recruiting like in January, February. Maybe have our swim test late February, first part of March. If we can get some high school or college people to come to take our swim test early, maybe before the other towns have their swim test, then maybe they'll decide to work in Belmar. If we say, okay, we want to hire you, they'll say yes, come to Belmar, instead of saying, I got Belmar, let me go see if Bradley Beach is looking for a guard. So I think that's what we have to do. We have to have our lifeguard, Eric Griffin, and he said he'll do it, contact swimming coaches at the high schools, go to some swim meets, go to the championships, and basically recruit. You know, I don't know what he means by recruiting, but talk to swimmers and say, you know, how would you like to come, you know, work in Belmar? So.
Maybe if we paid them more.
Well, actually, it turns out we pay, only Spring Lake pays their guards, from what I understand, starting guards. I don't know how the scale goes up. Only Spring Lake pays their starting guards more than Belmar. And with, you know, if things go up to $15, I mean, that's going to be like, what is that? Is that going to apply to seasonal? The state minimum?
Yeah, very well put.
And the thing is, if you're going to pay a rookie, you know, first, I don't know if you like to be called rookie, but a first-year lifeguard, $15.
Oh, everything's-
Well, then you have to pay like a third or fifth-year lifeguard more than $15. And I don't know what the top of the scale is for right now, but I don't think we pay anybody $15 an hour.
The scale goes above 15
It
for
does?
veteran guards, yeah, and
Okay.
certainly as you come up in the leadership ranks as well. But a salary survey is going to be part of what we do every fall when we make
Yeah.
our recommendations to all of you to consider for next season.
Oh, you know, great recruitment tools, being able to say nobody pays more than Belmar.
And one thing, working in Belmar is more challenging to a lifeguard than maybe in some of the other towns, because I think you're going to be involved in more rescues.
Yep.
You know, and not just one rescue a day. It might be several rescues in a day. But tell you what, that was the funnest days working on the beach for the rescues. We loved it. It was great, it was exciting, made you feel good, you know, and you kind of look forward to it. As long as you were in shape and you knew you could make the rescue, it was exciting. But today, you know, you talk about the work ethic, whether or not it is as good as it used to be or not. We hear that some people don't want to work in Belmar because you have to work it, you know.
Then we don't want them anyway.
Well, you will say, yeah. There we go. Tom?
Oh, the report, okay, good. Back to bags. So, I want to thank Colleen for posting this on the Belmar.com website and on the Environmental Commission page as well. It came up at my house, this is how I know, what are we going to do with all these bags? And it's not just the shopping bags, which we have too many of, but it's those newspaper bags that, if you don't have a dog, what are you going to do with those bags, right? That's what I thought. So I went to the trustee internet, and we were able to find a couple of things. We found earth911.com, which had a lot of information. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share what I learned. First off, it's really, really easy to recycle those bags. Just bring them with you to the supermarket. Every supermarket has recycling bins now. ShopRite has them. Everybody's got them. And they look like garbage cans right by the door. And you just stuff them full of the bags. And what they do with the bags, what they do with the plastic, is they take them and they recycle them into new bags. They don't reuse the bags themselves. They chop them up and make them into new bags. And the way you can tell that you're getting in a recycled plastic bag is they're going to be like brown or tan, because as anybody who's ever finger painted knows, once you start mixing colors together, everything turns into brown. So that's what happens to the plastic. It's not just, here's the thing that I found. It's not just those supermarket single-use plastic bags that our ordinance covers. You can, in the same bins, you could put in the bags that your tortillas come in with the Ziploc things. You can recycle those. You can recycle the bags that your bread comes in. Those plastic bags go right in the same place. Your cereal that comes in a plastic bag, that's the ones that are so hard to open, that's plastic, that can be recycled in the same bin. Dry cleaning bags, the newspaper bags, like the plastic, they shrink wrap your bottles of water in, those cases of that, you just take that, that goes in the same bin too. They use it all to make new bags. Bubble wrap and those dopey air pillow things that Amazon uses, as long as you deflate them, you can put them in. And here's one that really got me. Amazon and other mail order companies are using these like plastic bubble wrappy envelope things that you pull the Ziploc off the top. You know what I'm talking about? As long as you take the label off, they said the biggest issue is paper in this process, so you gotta make sure you take your receipts out of the bags. If you pull the labels off these other plastic bags, they go in there too. They all get just chopped up, and you don't have to put them into garbage. They don't have to go into the landfill. They can be reused into new bags. What you can't do is frozen food bags, the things that are biodegradable bags, those pre-washed salad bags, you know those bags that there are in there, and candy wrappers, and six-pack rings. You can't put those in that recycling. They're a different kind of plastic. Really, really interesting to find all this out. And if you need the information, again, it's on the Belmar.com website. Colleen, I'll send you the website for this page too. This was very helpful. We are looking at getting more of the logoed bags like this, but we wanted to use a local vendor. It was one of the things that I want to thank the Belmar Business Partnership, in particular Pat Texton, for their interest and their support. But one thing they really we're hoping that we could do is use a local vendor. We got a sample of the bag from Big Frog, and their prices look good. I'm really very hopeful that they'll end up being the low bidder. They're actually a better quality bag than this one. They can do all the same work, and we're looking to get those fairly soon, sometime in the fall, so that they'll be there over the winter and in the spring, so that people will have something to use, and we can get our businesses to start giving them out again. They were very supportive the last time we had them, and they've been asking me, in particular, Joe Connor of Taylor's has been asking me, where's the bags? So we're going to get some more of those. We talked about straws, and school starts on Thursday. Be ready. Kids are going back on Thursday.
Drive carefully.
Belmar Elementary, yep, that's right. Beware. And they get out at 1 o'clock on Thursday and Friday, so they'll be around in the afternoon. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I got a number of things here. Go over. This Thursday, at Piano Plaza, we're going to have Pat Roddy Band play, starting at 6:30. As you know, this past summer, the number of weekends rained, and we lost a number of Fridays at Piano Plaza, and the band concerts there, big shot in the arm for the businesses along Main Street. So what we did is we added Pat Roddy, who over the years, he hasn't been there in 3 years. He's going to be a big draw, and this should be a shot in the arm at the end of the season when some of the businesses missed out on the Friday. So that's this Thursday at 6:30 to Pat Roddy. The next day, Friday, what we're going to do is we're going to the band that was canceled last week. We've got them to come back this Friday. They're called R&B Express. They're going to be there at Piano Plaza on Friday. So we're, Thursday, Friday, we're going to try and help those businesses. On Saturday night, at the 8th Avenue Beach, weather permitting, the movie At Dusk is Jaws.
That's right.
We don't want to play that at the beginning of the year. However, I know in 1974 it had a big effect on how many people swam out to the last barrel. They pretty much stayed in after that Jaws movie in '74. So September 8th, this Saturday at dusk at the 8th Avenue Beach. Sunday is a Surfers Healing for Fran Hines' project for it's really great. Just come down and just watch the children with that are autistic and are, they have surfers come and bring the kids out on the surfboard and they ride waves. It's just a feel-good moment for you to just watch to see how much these children enjoy and see their families watch their child with other children enjoying the day on the beach. It's really a great type moment. And we've been doing it for a number of years, probably close to 10.
At least 10.
Yeah. So you'll start seeing, even though we have an ordinance, you'll start seeing tents go up on 7th and Avenue Beach because they serve the kids and families hamburgers and hot dogs. It's the whole day. Franny Hines from our first aid is in charge of it, does a great job. On Tuesday of next week, it's September 11th. So we're having a 9/11 memorial service at 710 8th Avenue at the Senior Citizen Building at 10 a.m. in the morning. All right, so that's Tuesday, September 11th at the Senior Citizen Building right over here is the memorial service. Next Wednesday at Taylor Pavilion, the Historical Society is going to have a program called The Well-Equipped Doughboy. It's on Wednesday the 12th at Taylor Pavilion, 7 o'clock. And the speaker is going to be Arthur Green. He's written a book, and he's going to bring his own artifacts from his private collection to the program. So, it's all World War I artifacts. So, if you're interested in history, military, anything, come on down on Wednesday, September 12th. 2018 San Gennaro. It's not this Saturday, it's September 15th. The son of San Gennaro is Gabe Viscardi. Gabe is the Grand Marshal for the Knights of Columbus. He is a Bronze Star winner from the Vietnam War. He's always involved with our Memorial Day services and Veterans Day services on Main Street and 12th Avenue. So Abe has been selected the son of San Gennaro. The daughter of San Gennaro is Rosemary Papa. Okay, she's a longtime member of the Belmar Women's Club, past president, and The two of them, when I called them up on the phone and told them that they had been selected, Gabe almost had to sit down. I couldn't, he had to catch his breath, he was so excited. And Rosemary, she was excited also, but not as much as Gabe was. But in speaking to her since, she was so proud that she was selected. The Italian business man of the year is Joe Veroli. Joe Veroli has his own meat company. He lives on 8th Avenue. He's lived there his whole life. His family started a meat business in Jersey City many, many years ago, and Joe has expanded on that, but he is a Belmar resident. And the Italian businesswoman of the year is Antoinette Raucci. Is that her kind of name? Raucci? You don't know how to Raucci? Any Italians out there that know how to pronounce it?
Spell it?
What is it?
Spell it.
Raucci.
R-A-U, Raucci.
Raucci, okay. And she's the Italian businesswoman. She's the owner of Antoinette Rose Bridals up there on Highway 71 and 16th Avenue. So San Gennaro, Saturday, September 15th. Mass is at 10 a.m. at St. Rose. Then there's going to be a little parade up to 11th Avenue, and we'll have festivities for Saturday and Sunday for the San Gennaro. Finally, on October 13th, many of you might remember the name John Frigario. He used to be a commissioner here in Belmar from 1947 to 1973. Silver Lake is dedicated to John Frigario as John Frigario Park. But after Sandy, that monument was destroyed. And about a month ago, his son, John Frigario Jr., contacted me and wanted to know where the plaque was for his dad. And we found it. Mike, who found it over there? Richie Merrill?
Well, we found it in the building. We found it after Sandy. It was pulled off the rock, and we put it in our shop.
All right, so we're going to rededicate Silver Lake Park to Mr. Frigario on October 13th. The name Frigario is connected, obviously, with the big three politicians: Peter McCleary, John Taylor, John Frigario. They, were the commissioners in town for so many years, and you have Taylor Pavilion and Cleary Park, and now we're getting the Frigario Park back on the books, and it's going to be the whole Silver Lake dedicated to him. Beach report. If you noticed, yesterday was Labor Day. The town's not as crowded. Some people have left. But I have the beach reports. So I'm going to read them off to you. Will they be published online, Kyle, on Belmar.com? For our season badges, this year we sold 14,144. I wonder who that person was, went the 44th, the last badge. Which was down 2.6% over last year. Senior badges, we sold 9,030. That was up 4.5%. Daily badges, we sold 250,041. Last year, we sold 257,206. So we're down there also for the daily badges. Total badge receipts for this year, we sold 273,377 badges, down 2.4%. Total receipts for this year, we were down, last couple of days helped us, we are only down from last year's by $74,308, which calculates out to 2.2%. So, I'll talk to Mr. Corey. He has been working every day pretty much since March 2nd. He hasn't had a day off since May, but I know he's leaving tomorrow for a vacation in the Smoky Mountains down in Tennessee. So we'll see him in a little while, and we'll talk about next year's, what he recommends for next year. But that's my report. Anybody have any questions? No? Thomas?
It's not going to the beach? Gee, going to the mountains? Okay.
Just going to the beach. Okay. So, that's it for reports of council. Right now, the public session on resolutions only on the agenda. We will continue to have a public session at the end of this meeting. So is there anybody out there that wants to come up and talk about any of the resolutions we have on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public portion of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, now I'd like to make a motion to pass the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Mossberg?
I just got a question on the bill list. The Pringle Quinn, $68,000 that we're paying. I thought that was only gonna be $47,000. Well, where's the other $21,000?
It's for various other legal fees that were awarded in the final judgment.
Oh,
That's
all
the
that's
final
all
total.
included?
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
Councilman Lennox?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing that there are no ordinances, we will open up to public session. Is there anybody out in the audience who would like to come up? Yes? Yeah, the lady that came up before with the petition.
Have moved. Claire Hayner, 221 18th Avenue. Just a quick question. When you dial 681-1700, 732-681-1700, it's a police station. But you get an IVR. Has that been in effect for a long time? I'm just not used to, dialing a police station and getting an IVR.
Yeah, it has been years, and I've always had the same question. I mean, if you call the police station, you should get right to it. And if you call like 681-3700, which is the Belmar, then you could probably go through all the prompts. I don't know why it was ever set up that way.
If I could just explain it real quick, because I was in the police department when it happened. We get a lot of calls on the 1700 line for records for the chief, and what was happening was it was really taking up a lot of the dispatcher's time. So the prompter is if you want records, or, if you need it's a police emergency, you're dialing 911, which goes right to our desk, or you hit 0, and it puts it right to the police desk. The problem was all the calls coming in for the detective bureau, records, was really taking up a lot of dispatcher time. And when the emergency calls were coming in, that's where we were having the problem. So it's probably been in effect for about 3 years, but it did circumvent some of those problems that we had.
Okay, because a couple times when I went to call, there wasn't a 911 emergency call, but there was people relieving themselves in front of the house and shoving stuff up their nose. You wanted to call, but by the time you got through the IVR or listening to it and then looking and taking the phone away and going back, what did they say? And then you're dialing again and then the people are gone. So it was just, I'm just curious how long that's been in effect, but it's, as soon as you get the prompt, you hit 0 immediately, it'll go through?
Go right to the dispatch, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
But the person calling for the first time, second time, probably doesn't know that.
I think the first prompt is
Is.
hit 0.
I believe it's overdo it, but I
Yeah.
think what we do is tell you first, no, but I'll check.
Yeah, just, because if it is, it would be smart to have that, the first option. And then the others, as Mark says, if it's, for some other reasons,
We'll take a look.
great. Sir, just come out, come up, state your name and your address.
Good evening. Robert Dietz at 1907 Surf Avenue. So I've been in the town just about we've been on property 3 years. We've been here 2 full summers now. So I want to just say that I appreciate the opportunity to just bike over and go to a meeting. It's kind of a neat little thing. I haven't been here that often. I'm not usually around. I do want to start out by saying I personally had sent you some emails when street ordinances was going on with the local directions. I know that apparently that's not over yet, but I do appreciate you guys acting in listening to the community at the time and taking directions accordingly. So that was very much appreciated, and wanted to do that. One of the things I just noticed in your comments, and a lot of things you talked about, was pollution and things about we can do. And what I'm here just is to make a comment about what I'll call water pollution. When I moved into Surf Avenue, really didn't appreciate the current situation on the street, but we had just had the pipes redone, I think a year earlier, the sewer pipes. But essentially my house sits in front of, there's a sewer, there's now a sewer grate, excuse me, in front of my house. So kind of sensitive, but since we've been coming, the last summer was a very dry summer. It wasn't as apparent, but the summer before that and this summer in particular, we have a constant flow of water due to sump pump things. And when recently we had a storm, not the one last week, but a couple weeks ago, I know where there were some comments in the paper about sump pumps being disposed out to the streets, causing additional issues and demands on our sewers. I sent a note to the mayor to say, hey, this is going on in our street, and we're very sensitive to it. We have, essentially, I have a lakefront. Basically, I have a stream in front of my house. I did bring some pictures that my neighbors was kind enough to print. I don't know about the one about, they're just examples of it. But it's about a 6-inch right now, as of today. Today, I played golf today, and I almost passed out because of the heat. I tell you, I got a 6-inch stream of water in front of my house right now on one of the hottest days of the year, the hottest weeks. And that's pretty much permanent. But I'll tell you that it's not only the fact that it tracks algae and flow of water that sits there. And I know there's other streets in town that have the same issues. The other issue is in the wintertime, when we were here this winter, we're full-time residents, it froze. And to me, that's a huge safety issue. We actually, so I have some personal things with slipping on ice. So, when I came in front of the house, when I came in front of the zoning committee and was going to build my house, there was a series of ordinances people went through, and how high my driveway could be, and how the pitch of the thing and what my garage was. Nobody asked me about how much water was going to be stranded in front of the driveway. And the storm last week that came on Wednesday, the water actually went into my garage up the driveway because of the sewer. So I'm very sensitive to the fact that sewer line has limited capacity. But can't solve everything. What I'm asking you to do is, I just think the town, I have contacted the sewer, like Joe Rumler, I think I spoke to, and said, hey, is there something we can do about this water situation with the sewer? And from what I understand right now under current rules, there isn't anything. And you can, residents are free to discharge into the street at their own convenience. If it's discharging on days like today, where basically they're discharging basically the water. They're going into the ground, they're definitely got their sump pumps maybe set misaligned or something, because clearly on a day like today, there shouldn't be a water issue where you're pumping that water, you're going into the water line, the natural water line. So, I think we have 3 new houses being built on Surf Avenue that have been redone. People are investing significant amounts of money, and I can tell you that having a stream of water this wide, basically 7 days a week becomes a nuisance after a while. And it's not just unsightly, but it's unsafe, and again, in the winter, there's no difference.
There's just one neighbor that's doing it, right?
Well, I don't want to, it's hard, I'm not an expert in that. There is another house on the other side of Surf that looks like you can see water coming out. I don't think it's as extreme. There is a particular neighbor that's been discussed that has, seems to discharge and it comes down. My house is the bottom of that thing, but there's 3 houses along the line that, it affects as well, and depending on the street, and there are things, it is. I can tell you that I can't get out of my car without watching where I put my foot. And not just water. And I clean that sewer all the time. It brings down all the discharge of everything because I don't want it to back up. But it brings down a whole week's of everything that goes into the thing because I'm telling you, I have a stream in front of my house. So we do have in that. I guess the reason why I came was what I understand was that the town went through the expense of redoing the sewer piping and allowing and building connections for sump pumps. So from what I understand, that is an option available to the homeowners in our street at least, at a very reasonable cost. And to me, again, if that's available or whatever options there are, that's something I think the council has to consider. And I realize there's other streets that may not have that, and there's other issues. But I can tell you, just biking around, you can see water standing on the street or whatever, just ruining our streets. It ruins chips away at the sidewalks and things like that. So. I lived in a town in a different state that did not allow discharges publicly. You had to have a dry well, or you had to do something. When you guys asked me when I did zoning, what about the water coming off my roof from the rain? Would you mind putting it in a barrel? Would you do all these other things? Well, just because you own a basement doesn't give you unlimited, protecting your house with a sump pump doesn't allow you to kind of pollute, I'll say, the other houses in the street. So that's my, that's why I wanted to raise that to your attention, and I think it's something that would be considered. I don't have an answer, but I certainly would ask if there is something we could be looking into. I think it would be appreciated, at least in our little neck of the woods.
Mike, are you familiar?
I am, very. He definitely has a problem. It's definitely coming from one house. It is not a sewer, it is a storm drain. I want to say that for
Oh, I'm sorry. I
It's
was
okay, I just
confused.
don't want people thinking that people are tying into sewers, because that is illegal.
Yeah.
We have talked to code enforcement about that, and I believe code enforcement has spoke to the homeowner and offered them the opportunity to put that into a storm drain. Obviously, it has not been done yet. I certainly can speak with code enforcement again tomorrow. We've done a couple recently where we have talked to the homeowners and they have tied them in. One over on River Court, which there was 4 or 5 houses that were always underwater the same way. They changed to one house, and now it's a dry street. So again, something can be done, but unfortunately, certainly DPW, we're a service, we're not enforcement, so I can't make anybody do anything.
Right.
But again, code enforcement, if they could get the person to tie
I
into the
know
storm drain.
code enforcement has been over there, and the gentleman refuses.
Correct.
So then now I turn to you, Greg.
Well, you
Have a
know,
position, town for after review the ordinance, we get back to it.
if I could add, when we lived over on Maplewood Road in the 90s, at one point when we were there, we had to, it wasn't a sump pump, but we had to attach our gutters. We couldn't let the gutters just run anymore. We had to have them hooked up into the storm drain below the curb. I remember they had to dig our yard, we had to take care of that ourselves. And part of it was to make sure that whatever, because there was probably people doing sanitary discharge, like wash machines and stuff, and that was going to the storm drain. So the point of that was to separate those two streams. But if you had a gutter, we had to do it. It wasn't a choice we were given. We had
We
to.
believe the problem in this house is the sump pump in the cellar is placed too low.
Right.
So it's always in.
So it's always in water.
It's always in water.
So it's an easy fix.
I never said easy. It's a
That doesn't
fix.
sound like it.
All you have to do is tie it into the storm, but I do feel bad. We've been over there more than 10 times, and there's nothing I can really do. We do try and get the sweeper over there as much as we can, especially on hot days, to make sure there's nothing growing or anything like that. But again, they have a problem. There's always water there. I will certainly.
Yeah, I drove by the house today, and it was pumping water today, and it was, what, 90 degrees, and it hasn't rained in a while. So he's pumping every day, and it was a good amount of water around your corner all the way down to, I guess, 20th Avenue, where you have the storm drain.
Right. 1907 Surf Avenue. That's where the storm drain is. So,
What do you?
We can't compel them to, an existing homeowner, an existing structure to change how they're pumping something new. Couldn't we do something for new construction to
Well-
make sure this isn't a problem 20 years from now?
Well, it's a problem. It might be a health problem with
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Oh, absolutely.
mosquitoes, and in the winter, ice falling, getting out of his car if it's frozen. And it's, from what I understand, it's fixable. And the owner is not cooperative.
I'm not here to, it's not my job here to come challenge neighbors. This is just a situation. I know there's, it's against the town. I know you're very sensitive to the whole policy, storm policy and runoff of water. This is clearly an issue to me. It's a sensitive issue, but as I said, again, it's a health issue, it's a look issue, it's all these things. We're all investing a lot of money and time in our neighborhoods, and we're trying to make it, as livable as we can. I can tell you that there's days it's pretty, if you drop something in that water, you wouldn't want to pick it up. Just because, again, it's picking up everything else.
I don't know how to say it.
I appreciate, you guys taking it.
I have a similar situation on my street too. You're not alone. There are.
Absolutely, doesn't, and again, my point is, one person's issue doesn't make it the rest, right? None of us would want that. If they had allowed, right, if they have one issue, it's up, the town needs, the greater good, right? So that's why I asked you. I'm not sure I fully agree with it, just because they're under some grandfathering clause, that there's not something, particularly when you're given them an option, since that point with the sewer or something, that necessarily means your policy has to grant.
No,
So again, I just think it's something that needs to be, should be looked into, and you guys can certainly
Yeah,
discuss
I
that.
think my point would be, if we could solve this man's situation, that'd be great, but we should also look at it from an ordinance perspective to make sure that we don't have situations like this.
Going forward, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys, it was a pleasure, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Sir? Name and address.
Mark Fitzgerald, 1902 Surf Avenue. So on the same point, and Bob covered most of the things that I wanted to mention, but in addition, and Mark, for you, a lot of people don't realize that there's a notch in the curb that indicates where the homeowner's connection is to be made. So I think awareness about that is the connection point, even if you point it out to your neighbors, they may not even know that they have that option. So I really want to make sure that that gets communicated to everybody who has that option in their neighborhood. I don't know what percentage of town has that connection point, but I know when the streets were redone, and this is almost 20 years ago, maybe more, those connections were provided to us as residents, certainly on Surf Avenue. And this one particular home in question, he's pumping out onto 19th. His connection point is on Surf Avenue. So if anyone could be asked to make those underground connections, it would remediate the problem. The second issue is, and I believe it's the case, as this house was built in 2005, I believe, their builder punched a hole in the curb and put the pipe in. And I don't believe that that was a permitted, or that is permitted to do, that a builder could just put a pipe to the street. I could be wrong, but perhaps the fact that that pipe to the street is put there inappropriately because the underground connection was in place at the time the home was built. So maybe there's an opportunity to do that there. And then lastly, I do think for the good of the town that an ordinance be passed that if the town has provided an underground connection, that any new construction and any previous construction be required to make that underground connection within 90 days or some reasonable amount of time. It's very inexpensive. I actually have done this for 2 of my neighbors who didn't even know, and I helped dig the hole and make the connection. It's not complicated, and it's not expensive either. So it's a very reasonable consideration, but I do think that there's certain homeowners that they will not do it unless the town compels them to do so. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Chuck Peters, 202 19th Avenue. I'm one of the guys pumping the water. The problem is it's the water level, the table.
Yeah.
On 19th Avenue is very high. After the storm, my whole basement came up. I don't need a basement. I'd like to get rid of it, but I got connections from the back house to the front house. And I don't even have a curb. So I don't even think there's a storm drain on 19th Avenue running east to west. I mean, I don't think so. I think it runs along A Street, and there's sewers along there. The other problem is when it rains like heck, like it did a few days back, you guys built a berm down by the lake, and the water can't get by it. So what happens is it causes a damming effect, and the water backs up the streets. This is probably the problem with Dietz's house. So I pumped water, I got rid of it, and my neighbor, has a lower apron, and it collects there, and I knew it was a problem. And what I did was I cut an inch off the discharge from the pump and put a coupling in. It's a very simple fix. But, how many inches are you gonna end up going up to where, it's gonna end up in your basement?
So are you still pumping on a day like today?
No,
So you corrected it?
yeah, and there's a lot of people I see that get them done by plumbers or whoever,
Yeah.
and they leave them low, and they're pumping, after there's been no rain for a month, they pump all summer. There's another one on A Street that does that. Probably a lot of those things are quick fixes.
So the
I
plumber
wish there
sets
was
it
a
too
way I
low.
could connect into the street, but, I just have it going to the curb.
So yours only pumps after a rain or something?
Yeah, heavy rain will might
Well, that's
pump for like 3 or 4 days.
But on a day like today, 90 degrees
No.
plus, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Go.
Bill Kratz, 90 Inlet Terrace, Belmar. You put a good spin on the beach this year. This was the worst covered beach we ever had as far as lifeguards. And I was a lifeguard in Belmar since 1969. I was the boss in Belmar from 99 to 2013. On 14th Avenue on Labor Day weekend this year, you had one veteran guard and 3 17-year-olds. We never let two rookies ever sit alone together, let alone this year. It's a wonder nobody drowned. It's a great thing that nobody drowned. I think the guy that you put in charge this year might be a good guy, but I think he was over his head. He never ran a beach before. I don't know who considered this. I'm not sure who made the decisions on this. I think he did a terrible job on this. And good for Belmar that nobody drowned, but you didn't do a good job. You missed the boat on this one.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing nobody else, make a motion to close the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Meeting closed.